Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video. This is going to be a video that's a part of my I Quit Teaching series, and I'm also going to make another video about this topic just in general. I want to apologize in advance for my dog eating his bone because he just thinks that every time I film he needs to be heard. So if you hear crunching, that is my dog. I want to talk today about quiet quitting, and I'm going to make another video about this, but my first thing that I'm going to say is that I don't even think quiet quitting is really a thing. I don't like the term. I think it's useless, and I think it's an interesting way to describe boundaries. Quiet quitting is really just having boundaries, and I want to talk about some ways that I started to quiet quit before I actually quit teaching. If you're new here, I'm Jo. I'm a certified personal trainer. I'm a credentialed K-12 teacher. I've taught English, middle school, elementary school, high school, PE. I was an athletic director. I've done a lot in the education industry, and after 12 years, I quit my job to become an entrepreneur. And if you want to watch my I Quit Teaching video, that's somewhere on my playlist. But today I want to talk about the ways that I started to quiet quit to preserve my energy and to preserve my well-being as a teacher. The first thing I want you to know is that you should have boundaries as a teacher, and absolutely hard, strong, fast boundaries. We often hear in teaching school that, oh, you can't, if you don't fill your own cup up, you can't fill others. And we say that, but we don't actually practically live that out as teachers. And it's also not institutionally encouraged. In fact, just the opposite is encouraged. Maybe some of you heard things like, you need to be involved in your kids' life, show up to their basketball games, volunteer extra time after school, go to this meeting, XYZ, get to know your children, all things that require an extensive amount of emotional energy, physical energy, spiritual energy, financial energy. And so I am not against being connected to your students. If you guys know me personally, you know that was one of my strong suits as a teacher, is that I could connect really well with students, which is why I still work with students today, even in my own new career here. But what ends up happening, particularly in lower income areas, is that you become a second parent and you end up breaking your boundary as a teacher, your own boundaries. Like, there is a boundary between a student and a teacher, and it shouldn't be crossed. Because at that point, then you are now not preserving your own well-being. And often what I would do is I would be spending more time with my students than I would be alone or with family or with friends, because it would just end up extending my school day, right? So one of the first things I did when I started to quiet quit is I actually scaled back on the amount of extracurricular activities I participated in. And I've got to tell you guys, when I first started teaching, I had there was a woman, she was in her 70s. She had been teaching for a very long time. And I asked her, because I had every intention of being, I don't like this lighting, you guys. It's like making my bags look really bad. You guys know I have bags under my eyes, right? Okay, let's see if this is better. Is that better? I don't know, whatever. I had every intention of teaching for 20 years. I had every intention of doing that 20, 25 years, 30 years, right? And one of the things that she said to me that really resonated was, principals come and go, and I just close my door and I do what I need to do for my kids. And at the time, it was so shocking. It was abominable. Like, how could you? But as I reflect back on that, I'm like, that was a boundary. She had strong boundaries. And that kind of leads me to number 2, which is letting all of the stuff from meetings sweat off my back. The first thing I did was I scaled back on how much extracurricular activities I allowed myself to be involved in at the school, because I just needed time to recharge. The second thing relates to what this woman was telling me, which is, you go to these meetings, your principals are on your case about XYZ data, and at the end of the day, the only thing that actually matters is that your kids are learning. And it seems like the biggest emergency in the world if this thing's not done, or if you haven't had this data point. But the reality is, the most important thing is that the kids are learning. And when she said, principals come and go, and I just let it roll off my back and I closed my door, I was starting to think about that. Like, yeah, I go to these meetings, I zoned out unless it was something super important. And then I closed my door and I preserved my mental well-being. All this extra noise about what I should be doing as a teacher. And of course, I'm open and receptive to feedback. But you guys, if you're a teacher, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know what I mean. just the obsessive, data accounting and obsessive meetings about this kid and that kid and what are we doing here, and we just moving further and further away from what it means for a child to learn. And so I started to just zone out of those meetings and let those things roll off my back instead of being angry and consumed with what this person said or what this suggestion is or what the district is rolling out next. I just said no. Okay. The third way I quiet quit was I stopped bringing work home. And some of you guys are smarter than me because I brought work home for such a long time as a teacher, especially teaching English. I brought work home and I was grading until 7 or 8 p.m. and I was like, look at me, I'm so dedicated, I'm such a good teacher, and all the while burning myself out and not having an efficient system, which, by the way, part 2 to this is don't grade everything, only grade what you need to, because there's so many kids, there's so many assignments. What is actually important and needs to be graded is a good question. And so I stopped grading everything and I stopped taking work home. I was like, I'm going to stay at work until 4:30, and then I'm going home. And I'm not going to worry about what's on my desk, because emotionally I was still at work even though I was home. So I was never actually getting a break and it was draining me. And do you see how quiet quitting is really just boundaries? Like, I think people are demonizing this term, like, oh, people are quitting. No, y'all, we're just not letting you abuse us and use us and run us into the ground, right? Especially if you have kids, like you have to chase after them, getting their homework done. And like, no, I need to be fully ready and recharged for the next day. Okay. I also stopped answering emails. I just stopped answering emails on the weekends. I stopped answering emails after 4:00. No, you cannot have access to me at all hours of the day so that I'm constantly thinking about work. Okay. The other thing I did, you guys, and people hate this, and I will tell you, coworkers have had issues with me for this. I don't go to functions. You guys go to happy hour? I want nothing to do with that. I never went to functions. I didn't like the idea of having to spend more time with people at work when I was trying to disassociate. I never went to functions. I said, no, I'm not doing it, because my job is my teaching job. And now I want to go home and separate. But if you're at work with these people, then you go to leisurely time with these people and you're talking about work with these people, your work never ends. That's called not having boundaries. Okay. The other thing I did when I quiet quit was I started teaching PE. Oh my gosh. I know. And PE teachers are so funny because we want to be legitimate so badly. And we are. But I was like, I'm not going to be held accountable for grading all of these papers anymore. It became, and when kids were not able to they weren't even reading at grade level. It was really challenging. So I said, no. And I can't demonize them I can't penalize them for turning in late work, because, that's not acceptable anymore. So I said, I'm going to teach PE. Boundaries. I gave myself boundaries. So you guys they can call it quiet quitting all they want. Really what's happening is people are having boundaries. They're learning to separate work from play. And I think it's interesting that California, I think this is a term that originated here, because we have this, I live in Silicon Valley, and there is this expectation that you will answer your phone at all odd hours of the night and your emails. And even parents will message me and then on a holiday and be like, oh, you didn't respond, because it's a holiday. And I'm not responding on holidays. Unless we are seeing each other, I'm not responding on holidays. And I think there's a culture of excessive over the top work. And again, if you know me, you know that I've paid off $18,000 in credit card debt. Excuse me. You know that I've paid off my $24,000 car. You know that I've worked 3 jobs since I was 18. You know this. I'm not afraid of hard work, but I will not do stupid work. And I think the rest of the world is catching up and saying, hey, I'm willing to work. I'm willing to work hard for these 8 hours. And then I'm going home and I'm done. Or I'm willing to work for 4 and then take a break and work for 4 more. But I'm not going to do this all day, all night, constant, my whole world is consumed with work. It's not even healthy. It puts you in fight or flight mode for your whole day. That's not even good for you. It's not even good for you. So anyway, I hope this helped you. These are my tips for quiet quitting while you're teaching, or AKA having boundaries. All right, you guys, I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. If you want my confidence course, which is now live, you can go ahead and click the link in the description box below. If you are interested in food mindset work, you can go ahead and click the link in the description box below. And if you're interested in my book, 10 Things My Master Teacher Never Told Me, go ahead and click that in the link in the description box below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.